making a utility club more playable. Stay tuned and we're going to show you how to do that. Welcome back to the Mick Golf Shop, and if you find that you like the video, how about hitting the like button down below and subscribe, and that way you'll know more about the club making, club review, or even club fitting tricks and techniques and hints that you can find on the channel. Now, I got this mailed to me and said, let's see if we can't make it more playable. And what it is, it's got a KBS, it's got a KBS C-taper in it. And C-tapers are pretty stout shafts. They're very good if you're have an aggressive transition, have a fairly high swing speed, that kind of stuff. Apparently this guy does not. And we're trying, but the club head itself is actually a pretty good little, you know, utility iron kind of setup. Okay, and so how are we going to make this a little more friendly? Well, we're going to put this in it. We're going to put a shaft in it that's a little more flexible and probably a little lighter, and it's going to be the same length with a different grip on it, obviously. And that's what we're going to do. We are going to pull this off a steel shaft and put the other one in. So right along. Now, you've seen me do other shaft pulls, mostly on graphite, that kind of stuff. Since this is steel, really the easy part of this one is we're just going to heat up the hosel and we're going to try and twist it off initially. So we get our butane torch, no more than 20 seconds on the side. Put on my glove because now the head's hot, and we try and twist it off. And boy, oh boy, there we go. Off we go. So the next thing we do is we got to clean her out. There's a bunch of junk at the bottom, so we're going to have to do this more than a couple times. There's a bit of glue in the bottom. In order to get that out, instead of just using the brush all the time, I'm going to drill it out. Here's another tip of the day for club making. All right, this guy has got a shoulder on it. If you can just see, there's a little bit of a shoulder in there. And a lot of times what happens is the glue or the part of the ferrule stays in there and the brush just doesn't get it because it's actually glued on. So how do you get in there? With one of those. It's what we use at our gripping station. And the fact that it's got a hook blade makes for, it just gets right in there. See, it just gets right in there and allows me to peel out the extra stuff. All right. What that does is that loosens it up. That loosens it up and allows me to get back in there with the brush and clean it out. Okay, tip number 2. Now, you've cleaned out the shoulder, and you want to make the one way you're going to know if you're going to have a good fit before you do anything else is you take, since this has got a collar in it, right, or a shoulder, you need a ferrule with a collar. So all you got to do, put it in there and make sure you got a good fit. All right. You'll know whether or not, if you got too much junk in there, you know, sitting around inside there, that if this doesn't fit, you're going to be cleaning even some more. The object here is to get it basically perfectly clean. That way the adhesive or your epoxy has a chance to get inside there. The next thing we do is we check for fit. And it's in there. And it's in there good enough. We want at least 1.25 inches, right? And that will tell us whether or not we've got all the crap out of the bottom of this too. So let me go measure. Okay, so I want 1.25 inch insertion depth, right? And that's in order for this thing to not go spinning off, because you just need a lot of contact between these two to get into there. Okay, so if you're at 1 inch, and there are some club companies that like less than that, and for the idea, I guess, to get the club up in the air, might be a swing weight thing, who knows. But and I do change out a lot of those shafts, by the way. But 1.25 inch seems to be the standard in which for, you know, to have a good grab on the club. And the deeper that it stays in there, the more stable this guy is. Okay, I still had some more crap at the bottom, so now I gotta go check it again. Got it. All right, so it's in there, 1.25 inch. Okay. Now, when you go to put these in, sometimes if you get in there and it starts wobbling around, this is just common sense type stuff. If it's wiggling around in there, chances are this might be a taper tip shaft where this is not. And vice versa, if it doesn't go in all the way, this could be a taper tip hosel and this may not be. So you want to make sure you got the right fit. Use a gauge. Here's one way. Now this is an older model. Friends at Golf Works make this. So 370, right in there, not wobbling. Taper tip. See that wobble? Okay, we don't want that. Now there's other makers out there, and I'll put some links in the descriptions below of where you can find those gauges. Okay, the smaller ones are look like a nut now. They take up a lot less space. It's a good little setup. So now we're going to go put this guy together. Let's go put together a club. I've only got one shaft, so I'm kind of stuck with, if I wanted a particular kind of flex and I couldn't get it, I'm stuck with this one because, well, there's only one here. So we are going to go and figure out what length that we need first. And I could have done this beforehand, but I wanted to show you if there's another way of doing it. So we look like we're about a 39-inch club. So I mark it at 39. And we check the frequency of it right here. Alright, it says 270. Let's see, 68.7. So according to mine, it's playing just a tad soft, and that's because, which we should have talked about earlier. Alright, it's not too bad. The iron head weighs about 243, and if you figure our standard 5 iron is about 254, 256, that's 7, so this is close to a 4 iron, so I probably would have to trim just a little bit to get to where I wanted to go. And what I'm going to do is try and make it play somewhat into the lower end of the regular range. So, a 1/2 inch would be normal 4 iron, so I'm going to go about 3/4 inch first, because it's always easier to take it off than it is to put it back on, right? So we're going to cut this off. You guys can't see what I'm doing right here, at least see the string. It's basically fishing string, and all it's doing, and you can go get it from your local Walmart or whatever place that you like getting your regular supplies from, is you got to go look. And it doesn't have to be any special kind of string. But what I do is, it is a 0.012 diameter. And that's about as close as you're going to get to taking up all that stuff. So that last one got me about 280, which is right where I wanted to be. It's just shy of the middle of the regular range. And now we're going to do a little flow action. There we go. Alright, so we find the flat line. I make my marks. That way I can put them back together. Now it's just simple assembly. So I just got to sand it to the mark. Put the epoxy on it. And that's another one. A lot of people don't glue on their ferrules. All right, so you guys get those ferrules that slide on when you leave them in your trunk too late at night or during the day when it's super hot. That's probably why. Get a good coverage going. Always look to the inside. Make sure you got it. And then I line up my marks. There we go, line up my marks. Make sure I got a good seat. Wipe off the extra. Because if you do it now, you don't have to do it later when it's hard. Piece of tape to make sure nothing slides, and on the rack it goes. So there it is. Now it needs to rest for 24 hours and we're finishing up a club. All right, you guys have seen me do ferrules. In fact, I'll post one up in here or wherever that, I always point to the wrong spot, but we'll go over here this time. Did a video on just finishing ferrules. You can see that. And then cut it to the right length and install a grip, and our man's happy. So we made it more flexible, made it lighter, made it more friendly so that it becomes a usable club in the bag. That's really what it's all important. All right, we don't want tomato steaks in the bag because, well, if you're carrying it, it's just more stuff to carry, right? You got to see how we took it apart. You got to see how we made it work so it would be very consistent when it goes back, and then it's just the finished part. So I hope you liked it. Hope you learned a little stuff. If you did, again, like and subscribe. And let's see your scores go low.